Island is gender advocate and social commentator Tessy Biobaku. Tessy, good morning, and it's good to have you on the program this morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on board.
Right. You have been following issues that has to do with gender-based violence, be it domestic or otherwise. And there are reports of a sudden spike as a result of this pandemic. Talk to us about what you have noticed before now and now, the difference, and why it is garnering so much attention.
Well, we all know domestic violence is a menace to the society, and it's one that is widespread. Before now, of course, we've been having sensitization with regards to domestic violence. But right now, because of the lockdown, there's an increase in domestic violence. You know, unfortunately, we are caught up with an unprecedented situation. Domestic violence itself is an epidemic, and we are caught up with a pandemic. So a lot of people didn't conceptualize this happening. So, of course, because of this situation, domestic violence is actually on the increase for a lot of reasons. You know, naturally, our cultural belief, if I have to narrow down to Nigeria, to Africa, cultural belief stipulates that the women are meant to be submissive, which is a good thing. But, you know, when women are now caught up with being belittled or subjugated, you know, there's going to be a problem. And, you know, being caught up in a situation whereby most times people are caught up with their normal activity is always like Monday to Friday, where we're all busy, we are at work. Maybe issues that might come up in the home front is being, you know, swept under. And, you know, by Friday, Saturday, we are good party people. We are on our party level. So you find that these are the time that those things that naturally you could have, you know, tackled head on, you know, right now you are forced to face, you are forced with the situation. So, of course, it's going to trigger a lot of tension, you know, friction in the home. You know, I like to look at the fact, one particular factor that comes to mind right now is the unemployment and the economic hardship that's stirred up as a result of the lockdown. A lot of people that are caught up with, let me see, people that are doing, having livelihood, daily livelihood, you know, there's that thing about my livelihood has been taken away from me. So definitely, like the saying goes, an hungry man is an angry man. But then, in my own, in trying to look at this issue, at this moment, I'm not saying we should look at who is going to be on the receiving end. We're looking at how can we balance this situation. I know that the government are doing a lot of things, you know, to take care of things. But then in our own way, what can we do? Can we look at mutual respect with each other, have communication taken care of? But then my advice would be this: if you're in an extreme domestic violence situation, reach out for help. And when you reach out for help, definitely, you know, it will go a long way in, you know, taking care of that situation so that it doesn't escalate.
Tessy, some would say that, yes, we know the peculiarities of the current situation that we found ourselves. But before now, there's been some level of advocacy to at least address issues like this. Are we saying that it hasn't made as much impact to at least make a change such that we wouldn't have as much spike that we are witnessing now?
Let me correct an impression. It has made a lot of impact. But the impact, the victory with regards to the sensitization that comes with domestic violence might not be so significant. But it's a gradual thing. There's a lot that is changing. Women are voicing out. Like the video you just played now about the lady that had to run out, that the husband was, you know, unnecessarily unnecessarily trying to have, you know, intimacy with her. she came out. She had the boldness to still come out and say, look, enough of this. So you have the sensitization has helped women to understand their rights to an extent. But is it enough? No. And that's the reason why, now that we know with regards to the experience that COVID-19 has brought in, you find that apart from our medical facilities, the home front needs more sensitization. We need to understand that the home is a bedrock of a society, and there's need for collective efforts to make the home a more harmonious one. As women also, I call women, either you're a career woman, either you are an homemaker, either you're a single mother, we are the chief domestic engineers in our home. So we must look out for ways also to take care of how we can strike the balance in making our home more a home that you can have peace together. Because at the receiving end, the main receiver of this domestic violence is our children. So there is need for collective effort for us to take care of things.
All right, Tessy Biobaku, we'll leave the conversation at this point for now. Thank you so much for speaking with us. You're watching TVC Breakfast. Now, the current global pandemic is another situation that has increased gender-based violence around the world. It is a time of forced proximity between partners, and the results have not always been pleasant. This phenomenon has become a global concern. Joining me to discuss this via Skype from Bonny Island is gender advocate and social commentator Tessy Biobaku. Thank you for joining us, Tessy, on the program.
Thank you for having me on board.
Now, there are concerns that the rise in the cases of gender-based violence or domestic violence is one as a result of the fact that the laws to protect women and hold abusers accountable are not as stringent, and that is why this has festered for so long.
Well, that's very true. But in as much as it is the reality for now, the more reason why we should never relent in getting this awareness out there. Sensitization with regards to domestic violence is very important. And because of the way things have been, the way it has been, I mean, not putting things in place, laws that have been put in place for this, they are not well in place for abusers to be taken into, for abusers to for one to make sure the abusers are they come to realize that the consequences is there for them. And because of that, it's really on the increase. But with the lockdown right now, you find that domestic violence has even escalated more. Now, the question is, how can we see that this is taken care of? Frustration with regards, proud before the president's broadcast yesterday, you find a lot of people were anxious. When you're caught up with a lockdown that we are in right now, there's a lot of friction in the home. People are frustrated, people are anxious, there's anxiety. Psychologically is something that it's something we need to look into. Domestic violence, I must say, that is very widespread, and we will look at reasons why domestic violence is even there in the first place.
Even the United Nations Secretary General, that's Antonio Guterres, had to, in terms of the concern with regards to the rising cases during the pandemic, had to call for a ceasefire to address the horrifying global scourge. If we are to address this from the perspective of the law, what would you expect would be a stringent measure to tackle this?
Well, one of the stringent measures I would want to tackle this would be, of course, a law to bring the perpetrators, into knowing that the consequences must be faced. And then secondly, we must get the girl child, even the boy child, well informed. We must engage community leaders, influencers, to be at the forefront of getting this sensitization out there. We could get to the point of even having manuals sent out in different dialects. We must make sure that they know that the women, the girl child, especially women, are well informed to know their rights. And for you to have your rights being known, it takes a lot of for you to be educated. Education is very important in this regard, and I'm very sure with more sensitization, with the social media being involved, and a lot of people that are very much at the forefront of this sensitization, I'm sure that a lot will be definitely taken into consideration.
So what can we do now that there is a pandemic to help people who are faced with situations like this?
Well, we must heighten our support structure. We must look out for each other. Like I said, this is a collective community effort. Everybody
But people,
must be
remember,
involved.
are kind of locked up in their homes. So how do they look out for each other?
Well, even though we're locked up in our homes, it doesn't stop us from making calls. You have your WhatsApp that you can make video calls and all that. And of course, there are hotlines out there that people can, take advantage of. I also want the government to support in such a way that I know that with regards to Lagos State, they said something about even extreme cases taking people maybe to their maybe family homes, or taking out whoever is the abusers and all that. I know that in the UK, there's this thing about even opening hotels for victims of domestic violence. Yes, even though we're locked up, does not hinder the fact that you can actually reach out by way of communication, by calls to people, to know that, okay, you're safe, or you're caught up with a situation that needs to be looked into immediately.
We say that in medicine, there's something called telemedicine. Do we also have that at this point for perhaps counseling persons who find themselves in a situation like this?
Yeah, counseling is something that before now we feel is a kind of stigma, and I might put that exposure now makes people understand that there are certain things that you need to just embrace. Counseling is open. I know that a friend of mine has his counseling section even on Facebook. That is a psychiatric doctor. So I mean, people are exposed to social media, but the only thing now is there are people that are not exposed to this to the social media, and that's where we have we could now engage community leaders to make sure that they're able to reach out to these people. So in doing that, it makes them well informed. It makes them understand that their plight is not something that they are alone in it, that people are looking out for them, and that's what we can do at this moment.
All right, Tessy Biobaku, thank you for speaking to us on TVC Breakfast. Let's tell you.